Aloha mai kākou, tutuman kawai kapu o kalani ke ia, no ke kumuhana no o ke ia la o ia hoi, ka ho'o vehe vehe ana no a ka mana'o e pile ana no I nā mele a me nā mo'o o lelo. So today we're going to continue our mele and mo'o o lelo, and today we're going to talk about Kūpoono ʻOle. Last week we talked about Kūpoono, merit. Today we're going to talk about Kūpoono ʻOle, not being qualified or not being prepared. And we're going to take it from Ike, the knowledge, the wisdom, Ike Kūpuna, the Ike that comes from the Kūpuna, or the ancient Ike. Today's mele is called Lālani Pono. The Lālani Pono expresses the order of all things from the lani as it comes down to the honua. No ka luna ko luna, no ka lalo ko lalo. Vākea ka lani, papa ka honua. Let's begin. E ho'o maka ana kākou. Aia ka wā mamua, mamua pono, aia ka wā mahope, mahope pono, eia no kākou, na iwi o ke ia au nei, e malama kākou I ka pono o Hawaii nei. Ano aia ka wā mamua pono, aia ka wā mahope pono, eia no kākou, na iwi o ke ia au nei, e malama kākou I ka pono o Hawaii nei. O ke akua no ka mua, na au makua ka helu e lua. Kau pono no mai ke kino himai, e ho'o mau me ka oia I o. O ke akua no ka mua, na au makua ka helu e lua. Kau pono no mai ke kino himai, e ho'o mau me ka oia I o. Perpetuate the pono in the truth of the pono. Pili nā kūpuna, I ke la'au I ke ia au nei. Pili I nā kini lani, pili I nā kini honua. Eia no ka lālani pono, no ka ho'o pono, no ke akua no ka aina, nā kanaka. Hana ho! Pili nā kūpuna, I ke la'au I ke ia au nei. Pili I nā kini lani, pili I nā kini honua. Eia no ka lālani pono, no ka ho'o pono, no ke akua ka aina, nā kanaka. O ke akua no ka mua, na au makua ka helu e lua. Kau pono no mai ke kino himai, e ho'o mau me ka oia I o. Hana ho! O ke akua no ka mua, na au makua ka helu e lua. Kūpoono no mai ke kino hi mai e ho'o mau me ka oia I o. Kūpoono no mai ke kino hi mai e ho'o mau me ka oia I o. Kūpoono no mai ke kino hi mai e ho'o mau me ka oia I o. So the word says, it has been set, Kūpoono no, it has been established, mai ke kino hi mai, from the very beginning of time. And we have kuleana to ho'omau, to perpetuate the la lani pono, me ka oia I o, with its truth. Not our truth, but the truth of the pono from our ancient ancestors, the la lani pono. So last week, I spoke about Kūpoono and how Kūpoono equated to merit. Now, I want to dedicate today's ha'iolelo, today's papa mele and mo'olelo to my son, who since August 9th has been in Lahaina, helping to coordinate, helping to strategize, helping to structure, helping to put things in order. I want to dedicate today's talk to him because while I was working in Lahaina, my son would pick me up from the airport and he would drive me to Lahaina. And on the way to Lahaina, we would talk and he would ask me all the 100 questions that he wanted to ask me. And I would sit and try to give him as best with my ike kupuna of the answers I could. Then, when I had to leave Lahaina and get back to the airport to fly back to Honolulu, again, he would pick me up and we would have these long conversations. So he is just like me in that we value, truly value, the ʻOlelo Hawaii, our language, but the oiaʻiʻo o ka ʻōlelo Hawaii, the truth that is revealed in the ʻōlelo Hawaii. Aia no I ka ʻōlelo kūpuna, ka oiaʻiʻo. There in our ancestral language, there in the ʻōlelo of our kūpuna is truth. And when there is any kind of a situation, we can come to that truth when we use our ʻōlelo. Today's ʻōlelo is about Kūpoono ʻole. Not being qualified, not being prepared, and being in a position that you may have no experience or no skill. And we know at the end of that journey, there's going to be turmoil. There will be no good outcome if you have been placed in a position that you are not qualified for. O ke aloha ka mea I ho'ola ai. Aloha is so very important. And aloha brings life. O ka hu ka mea I ho'ola ʻole ai. Anger brings no life or no good outcome. O ke kūpono, ka mea I ho'ola ai. Skill, training, dedication, commitment, experience brings good outcomes. O ke kūpono ʻole ka mea I ho'ola ʻole ai. But when you don't have that skill, when you don't have that experience, when you don't have the qualifications, when you have not done it before, therefore you don't know how to do it, there will not be a good outcome. These kinds of ʻōlelo noʻeau comes from the ike, the wisdom, the au malama lama, the enlightenment of our kupuna. Now listen, they've lived the life, they've experienced the life, they know and understand the years of living that life and are able to reflect from that experience what will be the kūpono or the kūpono ʻole. Because they've lived long enough, 70s, 80s, 90s, to know and understand these things. Experience a great part of kūpono, you see. Well, today's talk is based on the ike kupuna, the perspective of an elder, but also ancestral perspective. And I use another proverb to expound ka ho'onui ana no ki ia mana'o. E pili ana no I ke kūpono a me ke kūpono ʻole o nā kanaka. So the proverb says, lele ka lupe I ka pola. Lele po'o ka lupe I ke kūpono ʻole. Listen again. Lele ka lupe I ka pola. Lele po'o ka lupe I ke kūpono ʻole. The kite is going to ascend as far up into the sky as the pola or the tail will take it. Lele po'o ka lupe I ke kūpono ʻole. The kite will dive if the person pulling the strings is inexperienced. This is very, very important, and it is used in many, many different ways to reflect situations such as we're experiencing right now. And of course, the huge disaster that took place in Lahaina. You see, the lupe in this situation is reflective of government. Now, in government, the head of the government is the governor, has all his administrative team in place. They are the tail of the kite. Now, They support the governor and they uplift the governor in his decisions and his works. So the kite can only go as high as the tail will take it. The governor rises as high as his administrative staff will take him. Now, the governor is the po'o. He is the top of this government. So he now has to bear the brunt of all of the responsibilities. Because he is the kite, his administrative staff, the tail of that kite. When the kite is ascending, everything is good. The governor looks good, the administrative staff looks good. But once that kite starts to nosedive, that nosedive is due to the inability, the unqualified, and the unpreparedness of the governor and that administrative staff. So what does that mean? What does that mean? As you go up, you revel in your accomplishments, as it should be. But when that kite nose dives, you cannot throw responsibility at one or two people for being disqualified and unprepared in those positions, because who put them there? You move as one. You move as a team. You move as a unit. Your successes are the success of the entire unit, but your failure is also the failure of the entire unit. Lele po'o, to nosedive, po'o, the head of this team, needs to take responsibility for all of his staff. All becomes his responsibility, because as that staff took responsibility to uplift that one person, for example, the governor. Now, the governor who started that nosedive needs to take responsibility for his unit or his team. Lele kalupe I ka pola. Lele po'o kalupe I ke Kūpoono ʻOle. You see, it's not my words. The words are clear. In responsibilities by the ʻōlelo no'eau of our kupuna. We do not throw blame on one or two people. We come together as a unified team to acknowledge our successes and our failures as a unified team, because if you don't do it as a unified team taking responsibility, then the truth has been revealed and you were never connected from the very beginning. And there you go. Because when there are oihana vai nui, prestigious and important occupations, kulana vai nui, positions of great importance, in all aspects of our government, and those people who sit in these oihana vai nui and these kulana vai nui, you have to be prepared. Because that kite can zoom way up, but just as quickly as that kite zooms up, that kite can nose dive because of the inexperienced, the unskilled, put in these positions of great importance for all of the people of Hawaii. Now remember, Kūpoono was merit. Kūpoono reflects being trained for a specific kuleana. Kūpoono reflects being dedicated to a specific kuleana. Kūpoono reflects years of work in that community in reflection of that kuleana. And Kūpoono reflects the success of all of your work. So you're going to choose people on their merit, past merit, present merit, as a reflection of future merit. Kūpoono. But when you put people on these positions because of political relationships and liaisons who don't have the experience, the know-how, the dedication, the years of commitment, and the success of that kuleana, then what you are doing is putting everybody at risk. The words are powerful. Aia no I ka ʻolelo ke ola, aia no I ka ʻolelo ka make. And here is a great example. Two powerful words. Kūpoono, having the skill, the experience, and the ability. And kūpoono ʻole, not having the skill, not having the ability, not having the experience, and therefore there is great risk. This is a great lesson for the future of all of Hawaii. This is a great lesson for everyone to know and understand. If we continually put people who are unqualified, untrained, with no experience in these positions, then it is our failure, just as well as it is the government's failure. Everybody needs to take responsibility. Everybody needs to acknowledge their role and responsibility in the failure. And only by acknowledging your role and responsibility in all of the failures can we begin to mend and to grow. Only through acknowledgement and then through mihi, forgiveness, can we begin to grow again. We're not going to grow again with more bullshit. The only way to grow is mihi. Acknowledge your role and responsibility. Acknowledge your ineptness. Acknowledge your inexperience. Acknowledge that you were not prepared. Ask forgiveness. And through that forgiveness, we can move on. That is called ho'oponopono. So you see how the words are all connected. Aya I ka ʻōlelo ke ola. Aya I ka ʻōlelo ka make. That's a pono. Kūpoono. Skilled, trained, dedicated, committed, success. Kūpoono ʻole. Unqualified, unskilled, unlearned, unprepared. The way to heal is to ho'oponopono. And in ho'oponopono, the kūpoono ʻole, the ho'oponopono, you first have to acknowledge what you did that was incompetent to bring the outcome that is being experienced by the people, the families, the lives that were lost in Lahaina. The way to heal and the way to grow is to acknowledge your kūpoono ʻole through the process of ho'oponopono to achieve your kūpono with the akua, with the aina, and with the people. That is the only way. No ke akua ka aina. No ka aina na kanaka. No na kanaka ka mālama o ka pono. The land was created by the akua. The land birthed man. Man honors and respects the pono of all creation. And this is what the mele is speaking about. Aya kava mamua mamua pono. The future, the past is there in front of us so that we see it and we learn from it. Aya kava mamua a mamua pono. Aya kava mahope pono. And the future is behind us. What we do in the present will be the guiding light for the people that come from behind us. We, in turn, are following our kūpuna. And that is the lalani pono. You see? No kaluna ko luna, no kalalo ko lalo, va kea kalani papakahonua. That is the lalani pono. Lele kalupe i ka pola, lele po'o kalupe i ke kūpoono ʻole. When you fly that kite, you have to have skill. Without that skill, that kite is going to nosedive. Remember though, the pola, the tail of the kite, is what lifts that kite high up into the sky. But once that pola is in the sky, it takes the skill of navigation of the person holding the string. That's the po'o. And if you, the po'o, have made so many mistakes to allow what has happened to happen, then take responsibility. Responsibility goes from the top all the way down to the bottom. Everybody, one unit, everybody, one team, responsible to one another for the successes and for the failures. If you want release, kala, then you have to mihi. Mihi is to ask forgiveness for everything that was done incompetently, to gain back the trust of the people. Without that mihi, or the acknowledgement of roles and responsibilities in this disaster, there will be no growth. It begins with everyone and everyone taking responsibility. No ke akua no ka aina, no ka aina na kanaka, no na kanaka ka mālama pono. How we nurture one another, how we take care of one another, how we honor one another, how we respect one another. Experience, qualifications, being skilled comes from being a part of this aina. When you are a part of this aina, you are connected to this aina. When you are connected to the aina, you're connected to the akua, and you're connected to the people. And what we do know is this: aya ika olelo ke ola. There is life in the olelo. What you say now is going to make the biggest difference on your future. Because what you say can bring you success. Aya ka olelo kamake, or what you say will be your downfall. Be honest in everything you say. Take responsibility for what was done. And only through that process of ho'oponopono can we begin to move forward. So once again, ike kupuna, the wisdom of an elder, ike kupuna, the ancient wisdom handed down from generation to generation, reflecting Kūpoono. So you go back to last week's lecture, Kūpoono on merit. Today we spoke on Kūpoono ʻOle, and what can happen, what has happened, because of being unqualified, unskilled, and unprepared in crucial positions. In government, in everything. Think before we do. Lele kalupe ikapola, that kite is going to fly as high as the tail will take it. Lele po'o kalupe ike Kūpoono ʻOle. If one member of that team is unskilled, let's be very clear and honest. That whole team is unskilled. If one member is unskilled and does not make a good call on behalf of that team, that whole team is now responsible for that one member. And you don't throw people under the bus. You take responsibility for them all because they are your team. They are in those positions because you put them there. Now make them all responsible, and you take the greater responsibility for them all. And that's the meaning, the depth, the ike hohon. O ke ia mau hua olelo Hawaii Kūpoono. a me ke kūpono ʻole. Once again, hear me very clearly. Ho'olohe me ka pono. Do what is appropriate and right. Hana me ka pono. The way to begin to healing, ho'omaka me ka pono. Healing, ho'ola me ka pono. Ask forgiveness and take responsibility. Mihi me ka pono. In that way, we ho'opono pono. All right, I'm going to sing our song one more time. And, of course, dedicated to my son who's been there since August 9th. Spoke to him only once since then. I send him text messages to let him know I support him and the things that he's doing. I try to encourage as much as I can. He's a great thinker. Always thinking about these words. The ʻōlelo of our Kūpoono. And how he can incorporate those words, those wisdoms, those enlightenments in the things that he is doing today. Aia kava, oh ronki. Aia kava mamua, mamua pono. Aia kava mahope, mahope pono. Eia no kako, na iwi o ke ia au nei. E malama kako i ka pono o Hawaii nei. O ke akua no ka mua, na au makua ka helu e lua. Kau pono no mai ke ki no hi mai, e ho o mau me ka oia i o. O ke akua no ka mua, na au makua ka helu e lua. Kau pono no mai ke ki no hi mai, e ho o mau me ka oia i o. You know, we can only continue with truth. We can only imua with truth. We can only heal with truth. And the proverb says, in the language, in the ʻōlelo, there is truth. There is life. But in the language, if we ho'opuni-puni, there is a disaster or there is death. Pili na kūpuna, i ke la'au, i ke ia au nei. Pili i na kinilani, pili i na kini honua. Eia no ka lalani pono, no ka ho'o pono pono, no ke aku no ka aina na kanaka. O ke akua no ka mua, na au makua ka helu e lua. Kau pono no mai ke ki no hi mai, e ho o mau me ka oia i o. Mai ke ki no hi mai, e ho o mau me ka oia i o. Kau pono no mai ke ki So like with the past, the time of our ancestors, it is a saying, we can only go forward with pono. Never forget, o ke akua ka mua. Our akua came first. No ke akua ka aina, and the akua created the land. No ka aina na kanaka, and we kanaka were birthed from this land. Pili maua mauno, we are connected forever. Therefore, we know and understand the pilina, akua, aina, and kanaka. Kūpoono, stand in the authority of your experience, of your skill, of your dedication, of your commitment, of your success. Make sure as you stand in that pono, that position of merit, that you do know and you understand your responsibility to akua, to aina, and to your fellow man. Until our next mele and mo'olelo, ahui o kākou, na ke akua no, ka ho'ola, ka ho'omaikai, a me ka ho'omalu, ke aloha nui, ke aloha nui, ke aloha nui a kākou, aloha.